Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm going to share with you some tricks that I use every single day while I'm editing portraits in Lightroom. If you're after a more beginner tutorial about how to edit portraits in Lightroom, I'll leave my video about that linked down below in the description, but otherwise, let's jump straight into it. So this is the first picture that we have to edit, and one of the main things that I always use is the HSL tool. In particular, I like to use the luminance slider, and the reason I like to use it is to brighten up skin tones to help your subject stand out in your photo. So the easiest way to do that is by using this little tool here. And basically, instead of having to move the sliders and guess what they're going to affect in your photo, all you have to do is have this tool selected and click on the area that you want to adjust in your image. So the luminance sliders basically determine how bright or dark a color looks in a photo. So in order to make someone stand out in an image, I'm going to click on their face and just drag the slider up just to brighten them up that little bit, and as you can see, it really helps them stand out from the background. So I'll show you a before and after. This is the before and this is the after. By the way, I've applied my free Lightroom preset, which is called For You, to all of these images. So this is the original image straight out of the camera, and this is the photo with the free Lightroom preset, which I'll also leave linked down below if you guys want to download and play around with it. The next thing that I like to do in Lightroom is to enhance the eyes, especially when I'm editing a really close-up portrait such as this photo. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this. The first method I'm going to show you will be using the radial filter. So we're just going to select that and make a selection around the irises. So as you drag it out, it kind of just creates a circle. And we'll put one on this one too. Now that we've selected the eyes, Lightroom actually has a pre-made filter that you can apply specifically to enhance what the iris looks like in a portrait. So you can find that just up here where it says Effect and then Custom. If you click on that menu and go all the way down to Iris Enhance, it will apply that filter. We just need to click Invert to make sure it applies it inside the circle. And we'll do that to our other selection as well. I'm going to invert it first, then click on Custom and Iris Enhance. So here is a before and after. This is the before and this is the after. As you can see, it really makes the eyes pop and just stand out so much in the picture. The other method that you can use to enhance the eyes is a more manual way to do it, but this gives you full control over what it's going to look like rather than just using the pre-made filter. So for this, we are going to use the adjustment brush, and we're going to make the brush nice and small by using the square bracket. That's my shortcut to resize brushes. And we're just going to brush over the eye area here. And the main things that I like to do when I'm editing eyes is to bring up the exposure just a little bit, and also to bring up the saturation just to make the colors in the eyes a lot more vibrant. And I also like to bring up the clarity just a little bit too, as I feel like it really helps define the eyes. If you want, you can also play around with the temperature slider just to make them more blue or like whatever color you want. But for me, I just like to give them that little bit of pop and not alter them too much from what they look like in real life. So here is a before and here is the after. The next thing I always keep in mind while editing portraits is what the landscape looks like and what the negative space in my image looks like as well. Cropping for me is one of the most important things that you can do to take your photos to the next level. So as you can see in this image, we've got a very crooked horizon line, which is very distracting. And I feel like there's also a lot of negative space around our model. So in order to make this image look a lot better, we are going to be using the crop tool. So I'm going to hit the shortcut R. And the first thing I want to do is even out the landscape line. I find it really handy that you've got this little grid that pops up when you do this in Lightroom. It really helps you be able to align it perfectly. So I think just there is good. And then we are going to get rid of all this unintentional negative space by just bringing in our crop. So I think just about there is cool. I like to look at the lines of thirds as well when I'm cropping, and in this image I feel like I like her shoulders coming in through the top line. I think looks really good, and for me it's my personal style to keep my subjects in the very center of the photo. So I'm going to hit enter, and I feel like just by doing that cropping and rotating the landscape, it looks like a much more concise image and your eye goes straight to the subject rather than it feeling a bit lost while you're looking at the photo. The next thing I like to do to all of my images is to sharpen them. Before we get into that, I'm already noticing by looking at this photo that there's a bit of negative space in this image and the model isn't exactly in the center. So going back on our last step, we're just going to start by cropping this photo to make it look even better. So I'm just going to bring it down to this corner here and get her in the center of the frame. And I feel like that already looks much better. So when it comes to sharpening, I like to use the masking tool to be able to decide where the image is getting sharpened. So if you just bring up the sharpening amount here, it will sharpen the overall image, even the blurry bokeh in the background, and just everything will be sharpened. So something you can do is hold down the Alt key and pull up your masking slider. So down here at 0, the white means that everything in the image is getting sharpened. As you pull the masking slider up, you'll start seeing the image kind of come through in black and white. And the further you pull it up, the more specific the place where it gets sharpened is getting. So as you can see, now we can really tell that we've got a face in the shot. So only that white area will get sharpened. I don't like to be too specific like this. I do like to have a little bit of the background sharpened as well. So for me, just above half is usually where I go with my masking. And then we can bring up the amount. I usually have it pretty high, around 80 or 90, but that's my personal preference. So we'll just zoom into our photo and take a look at what that did. This is the before sharpening and this is the after. As you can see, I really feel like it just brings out so many details in a portrait, especially in a mid-length shot like this. I feel like sharpening is very important. Last but not least, something that I always do in Lightroom is spot removal. With my fashion photography, I usually edit my colors and tone in Lightroom and then take my image over to Photoshop to do some retouching. However, when it comes to wedding photography or travel photography and just lifestyle photos and things like that, I don't really like to retouch them as I want to keep them looking as real as possible. Sometimes, however, you have a really unfortunate day where you might have a pimple, as I do in this photo here, or maybe your bride has a blemish and you just want to be able to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So I like to use the spot removal tool for that, and it's really easy to use. So we're just going to zoom into our photo here, and I'm going to make the brush only as big as the blemish that I want to get rid of. And all you have to do is click on it. And usually Lightroom is pretty good in deciding where to sample from in order to be able to get rid of it. If for some reason it didn't do a good job, sometimes it's a bit funny and it'll sample from like here, and then it will kind of look really weird in your photo. All you have to do is just click on the sample circle and move it around until it blends into your image. So I'm going to pick from just right next to it, I think is what will look the most natural. And I'll just show you guys before and after of my wonderful pimple on my face. This is the before and this is the after. I just feel like that's something really handy to know how to do, just so you don't have to go through all that effort of moving a whole bunch of photos into Photoshop to edit something very small. You can definitely get away with retouching a little bit in Lightroom, and it's super handy, especially when you're editing a wedding. Well, those are my 5 tricks that I use in Lightroom while I'm editing portraits. I'd love to hear which one was your favorite and which one you use all the time as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But thank you so much for watching. I release new videos every single Wednesday, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye!